Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics. This is the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, CEO of the Franklin News Foundation. We're a nonprofit, 501c3. We're nonpartisan. Those are both good things. Everyday Economics is a production of America's Talking Network. You can subscribe to all of our podcasts at americastalking.com, no apostrophe. To support Everyday Economics, make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We are recording this episode. It's unbelievable. It's already the middle of September. It's Thursday, September 12th. Where did the summer go?
I know.
This guy on the other side of the microphone, that's Orphe Divounguy. He's a PhD economist. I like to call him Dr. O. Dr. O, what's cooking?
Oh, nothing. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, you're cooking.
Degrees.
You're cooking. Yeah, I mean, so I've spent a few days and probably cumulatively like about 10 or 12 days in Phoenix this year. And I think every time I'm there, it's 100 plus. Yeah. And I'm an extremely white guy. I don't stand up in that very, very well. So here's the grip. You and I have a disagreement. Well, I shouldn't say it's a disagreement. You have an opinion about new homes. And we want to talk about the top markets that you think that people should be buying a new home. And I'm gonna stand up for old homes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this because you and I both love the real estate market. You know, you work inside the real estate market. You know, it's kind of a core part of what you do. I just like to flip through Zillow and Redfin and think about places to live other than Illinois. So I mean, we come at this very differently.
Yeah. Well, look, the reality is that it's not necessarily that I prefer a new home.
Okay.
It's just that affordability is the number one concern for buyers today.
You live in a pretty new home.
And I do. And but I think most people today, well, okay, there's a couple of things. So first, affordability is the number one concern for buyers in the housing market today.
Okay.
And builders, 61% of builders are offering all types of incentives to help people get home, right? So they're offering rate buy downs, they're offering to pay for closing costs, right? And so that's really helping. So if you're a first-time home buyer out there and you're kind of out there and you're looking and you're not sure if you can afford to buy, very often, all you have to do is go and check out a mortgage calculator like the Zillow Home Loans Buyability. Have you heard of Zillow Home Loans? It's amazing. You can put in your credit score. It changes with live mortgage rates to show you exactly what you can afford and the likelihood that you qualify, right, for the home you're looking at on the Zillow map. I think it's fantastic. But anyway, you could then take your buyability and maybe go to like a new home. New construction. Get the seller to pay for some of the closing costs, right? Get the incentives, get the buy downs, just to make the math work for you, right? You can't get that. You can, but it's more difficult with existing homes. Part of the reason is there's just not that many on the market to start with.
Well, that's true. We are still in a very strange place in the real estate market. I am, if I were in a position to move at this very moment, I don't think I'd have a lot of difficulty selling my house and getting, a reasonable price for it. Now, the fact that my home hasn't appreciated very much because I live in the Chicago suburbs, I would be lying if I didn't say that didn't eat at me a little bit. But nonetheless, it could be done. My option where I am for new homes is extremely limited. That new home, because this is not a market where, they're building a lot of new homes.
Exactly. Sadly for you. By the way, one more point to make. New construction, cheaper by the square foot in many, many metros.
I'm going to get to that. Get to that.
Right. So I think that's really cool. And the reason is the composition has changed, right? New homes are smaller, tend to be on smaller lots. But then when you survey home buyers, the reality is nobody really wants to mow the lawn anymore. Nobody wants to be out there in the sun or in
What's
the cold.
Happened to this country that we're in?
Right? Like they don't want to deal with all the, or even the maintenance or having to fix it up
Right.
because money's tight
Let's
already.
talk. Let's talk about the markets where people should be looking at new homes, in your opinion,
Well,
because
in my
that's where
opinion,
this is really headed, right?
the top markets for new homes: Houston, Texas; Dallas, Texas;
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, Arizona;
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, Georgia; Austin,
Mm-hmm.
Texas. Those are places that have just built a ton of housing. You look at
Markets. Those are
you look,
mark.
yeah.
You're talking about the suburban areas around
I'm
those.
talking about the entire metropolitan area,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Fair.
Yeah, but single family. If you look at single family permits, they're probably going to be kind of more concentrated towards the suburban areas.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I mean, top in the country for permits in the last 4 years, 5 years, Houston, Texas,
Yeah.
right?
There's
No
a that.
wonder
I mean, it is a massive market, and I
Dallas,
mean, Dallas is.
Phoenix.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's like, and there's no question that the growth there is real and probably sustainable because
Guess what?
they're economically viable.
Exactly. They're attracting more population too, because research shows that people tend to go where housing they have a greater mix of housing options, where there's more inventory, right? Where it's relatively more affordable than where they come from. So you got markets like that are building a ton of housing, and where price growth is easing. In Austin, prices are even falling, right? Just making it more affordable for people, and actually it bodes well for population growth in the future, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like I think about your metro Chicago and like the state of Illinois that's losing population year after year, and I think, look, people don't want to move there. They don't build enough housing. They just don't.
I think you have a lot of choices here if you want to buy an existing home. I mean that's for sure. But we don't see cranes in this market like you see them in Phoenix,
Honestly,
and
even
like you see
existing
them in
homes.
other
Let me
markets.
see if I could. Let me see if I could look at the data really quickly here for Chicago.
While you're doing that, I'm going to rail against new home construction just a little bit.
Go for it.
I think that my biggest issue with new home construction is just the quality of the builds. And that certainly varies builder by builder. There are fantastic builders that are out there, um, and I wouldn't. I don't mean, and I'm not. My intention is not to make a mass condemnation for the new home construction industry, but you got to pick your builder very carefully. That attention to detail on a completed job, just because it's new doesn't mean it's right. And I mean, as far as like horror stories, I've heard people with a lot more like scary stories about new home builds than I have with existing homes. Now, existing homes come with, oh yeah, we never smoked in this house, and then all of a sudden you turn the HVAC on and it smells like you're at the Marlboro factory, right? There are issues in either
Oh
direction,
yeah,
but
and
from the
you're gonna see
sturdiness of construction, the older
yeah.
homes feel to me just a little bit better built.
Let me tell you something. Uh, or we could stop building altogether, right?
Okay.
And
Would
then
my
it's
house be worth more then?
and it's just gonna be worse for everyone,
Okay.
right? It's gonna be worse for everyone because here's what happens when you stop building. You end up like California. You end up like a Los Angeles metro where basically it would take, I don't know, 80% of your
Yes.
income,
Or San Francisco.
uh, right? And so I don't think I like that alternative. What we saw in 2022 is that when affordability got really strained and mortgage rates more than doubled, builders started to change the way they build. They build smaller, they build right, they build taller,
Yes.
right? Um,
There's those
they,
stairs again.
they even started building more off-site,
Yes.
like starting construction off-site, right? And so they have to adjust. They had to make some adjustments in order to keep building housing for more people. And so, and I don't blame them. I think they're doing the right thing. And so, some people might complain about the quality. You get the thing and then it's insured and then you can get it fixed if you have an issue or, yeah, we need to have, good builders out there. And there are some. In fact, the reality is those big builders are actually pretty good builders. I complain sometimes, about the new house I live in, but ultimately, I'm happy to have a house. It does the job, you know. And no, by the way, I love existing homes too. I mean, like you said, they're sturdy, they're reliable, they've been around. but they also come with some additional costs sometimes.
That's true.
And so,
well, it's part of the factor of the home that you're going to buy, right? I mean,
right.
it absolutely has to be part of your consideration.
That's right. It's a matter of preferences. It's a matter of how deep your pockets are as well, right? And but say ultimately, I like a market that builds a lot of housing because it provides opportunity for everyone, and it grows. It's usually a sign an economy is growing, and it's a place you want to invest.
All right, so Dallas, Houston, Phoenix. Where else?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta. You did mention Atlanta.
Austin, Texas. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
The Florida markets, of course. Nashville, Tennessee, one of my favorite markets.
Yeah.
Right? Those are markets where you have a lot of construction, a lot of right, and ultimately, some people say, well, too much construction and prices are easing. Maybe price could fall, right? And I say, no. Actually, what tends to happen is, as the market gets more affordable, it allows for the expansion to continue. It allows for people to come in, right, and fill those vacant homes and grow the economy, right? As a policymaker, you got to be focused on growing your tax base.
Yeah, that there's no doubt about that.
Improving the amenities by
otherwise, the existing homeowners just wind up eating it all, which is the reality of living in the Chicago suburbs. And and so on that point,
see, I brought you back to my point here.
Yeah,
I brought you home in the end.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, take a victory lap. For Orphe Divounguy, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics and dozens of other high-quality podcasts at americastalking.com.